This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Tuesday, the 5th day of January in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. The Ministry of Health, along with its partners, the National AIDS Program Secretariat and the Pan American Health Organization, launched a new action plan against HIV for the years 2021 to 2025, as Guyana seeks to improve several key areas that will help to eliminate the virus by 2030. The new action plan brings together old and new methods to spread awareness and share information to curb the spread of HIV. Speaking of the launch this morning, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony said that while there remains a constant fight against HIV, there is still room for improvement, as many of the goals set in the past have not yet been realized.
While we aspire to end AIDS by 2030, to get that end point, there are many steps that we have to take along the way. And therefore, while we were aiming to have the 90-90-90 by 2020, we have set in the past a target of achieving 95-95-95 by 2025. And that's still something that is viable. When you look at our situational analysis that is in this particular plan, you would notice that we did do some good work, and we were able to achieve the first 90 because we are now currently at 94% of persons who are HIV positive and have been tested, so they know their status. But we're a little still off with the other two 90s, and that is for the persons who have been tested and are on treatment, we're at 73%. And for those who have been on treatment and are virally suppressed, we are at 75%.
The health minister also said the ministry and its stakeholders have a lot of work to do to meet the demands of the last goal and move toward the new targets. He said the new action plan seeks to improve areas to better the fight against HIV.
So while we fix existing problems, we also have to look forward to how we can improve and also use new methodologies to ensure that we can get to those targets for 2025.
With the new and improved action plan, the Ministry of Health is looking to introduce self-testing and better care for HIV patients. Guyana recorded 500 new cases of HIV in 2019, and there are more than 8,000 persons living with HIV in the country. Many of them are aware of their status. Close to 6,000 of those persons are on antiretroviral treatment. More news coming up in a moment. Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Sol Guyana Inc. Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Sol Guyana Inc.
People we have
weathered every storm
and risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
that gives it its strength.
All the people,
regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
Elite Fragrances and Tradings is your destination for the most luxurious deodorant, perfume, cologne, body spray, sunglasses, wallet, belt, spa, men hair products, and much more. Elite Fragrances and Tradings, 123 Regent Road border between Ornock Street and Shiv Chandapal Drive. You can contact us on 619-5151 or 227-1255. The perfect fragrance is the ultimate accessory.
I wanna be a Super 95 millionaire.
You can be a Super 95 millionaire this Christmas when you purchase $3,000 or more Super 95 fuel from Guyana service stations. Enter to win one of two first prizes of $1 million plus weekly cash prizes up to $500,000. That's not all. Each week until January 15, 2021, you can also have a chance to win smart TVs, tablets, shopping vouchers, and so much more. So hurry down to the nearest Guyana service station and spend $3,000 or more on Super 95 fuel, and you can be a Super 95 millionaire. See press for more details.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL?
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Welcome back. A cotton tape assault of a man under arrest by members of the Guyana Police Force has triggered calls for a full probe of the incident by the opposition. In the video recording, which has been making the rounds on social media, a police officer is seen pulling a suspect out of a police vehicle and repeatedly punching him as the man fought back and other police officers joined in on the assault. The policeman's action was reportedly in response to the man using obscene language at him. In a statement, the Guyana Police Force said the incident is being investigated by its Office of Professional Responsibility. The statement also noted that the police officers who were involved in the beatdown have since sought medical intervention for injuries they claimed they sustained. Today, opposition leader Joe Harmon said he is appalled by the actions of the police. He said the opposition is very concerned about the direction of the police force, as there have been other reports of police officers behaving badly and going rogue.
And I must say that I'm appalled by the behavior of our Guyana Police Force. That certainly this is not the kind of behavior that you expect out of a force that is meant to serve and protect. This is not an occupational force that is meant to be so brutal to its own citizens. And what I've seen here on this video is nothing short of brutality. These police ranks who are involved in an incident like this, they must be disciplined, and their discipline must be swift.
Mr. Harmon said the incident is reminiscent of similar cases that have made headlines in the United States. He said police officers in Guyana should not allow situations like those in the US to show up in this country.
What I can say is that it is reminiscent of what happened to George Floyd in the United States of America, which led to the Black Lives Matter movement spreading all across the world. And so policemen must understand that they are servants of the people and not brutalizing the people. What it seems to me is that since the PPP regime came into office, it seems as if they have weaponized the Guyana Police Force to take brutal action against our own citizens. This is appalling, and this video, the Guyanese people must see it and see what kind of force that the PPP regime has turned the Guyana Police Force into in a very short time that they have been in office.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has not offered any comment on the issue, but there are calls by the opposition for the police and other stakeholders to ensure a full and thorough investigation of the incident, and for it to be made clear to officers that the brutalization of citizens will not be encouraged and will not be tolerated. 28 new cases of coronavirus have been recorded in Guyana, with the majority of those cases in Region 4. In its latest data, the Ministry of Health also reported that 5 persons are in the coronavirus intensive care unit, as the country still has more than 250 active cases. The majority of those persons are in home isolation. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony said health officials are bracing themselves for a possible spike in new cases following the holiday season.
We are anticipating spikes because over the Christmas holiday, we have seen a lot of people socializing, not adhering to the COVID-19 guidelines, and that was unfortunate. So we are going to expect that a lot of people might have been exposed, and therefore a large percentage of them would come to the health system. So testing is one aspect to determine whether or not they're positive, but we also have to ready the hospitals itself to ensure that persons who require hospitalization, that we are able to hospitalize these patients.
Meanwhile, plans are moving apace to set up a national vaccination task force as the country prepares for the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine is likely to be made available locally sometime after April. Well, tonight, the Guyana Teachers Union is reminding persons that the precautions outlined by the Ministry of Health in the fight against COVID-19 should be followed by all, and in particular those persons involved in in-person learning. The General Secretary of the GTU, Coretta MacDonald, said there needs to be more action instead of talk. The Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education have been collaborating when it comes to getting students back into the classrooms. However, the GTU is reminding that the Departments of Education and the Ministry of Education have to ensure that the measures outlined by the Ministry of Health are in place and adhered to.
We have to also ensure that the Ministry of Public Health, they are working hand in hand with us, so that when cases are reported at schools, they are readily available to offer the kinds of assistance that are so needed. Having said all of that, we still have the Durham schools to deal with, and that's where our major difficulties come up from time to time.
The GTU has been pushing for mandatory testing of those students who are returning to schools from far-flung areas. The Education Ministry has explained that while tests are being conducted by the Ministry of Health, all students living in dorm schools had to be retested before heading back to the classroom. But the GTU General Secretary Coretta MacDonald has noted that as COVID-19 remains a major concern for all, a lot of teachers have submitted themselves for testing, especially in those schools where students are returning from remote areas.
We now have to conduct contact tracing, the areas from which they come, that's one. Two, we've got to do contact tracing at school, because they would have been intermixing with their colleagues, and the teachers would have been visiting those classes. So it now requires testing of not only the students or other students, but teachers and other staff members from this.
The union also wants to see regular sanitization of schools. Last year, a number of teachers and students tested positive for COVID-19 as they returned to the classrooms. Let's tell you now that the more than 60 workers who were dismissed on Old Year's Day by the government's holding company NISIL will be fully compensated for loss of wages for their annual leave and will also receive payment in lieu of notice of dismissal. NISIL met with and held discussions with the Chief Labor Officer and the Guyana Agricultural and General Workers Union over the dismissals and reached several agreements. NISIL has also agreed to award severance to all of the workers who were dismissed for their years of service, based on the Termination of Employment and Severance Pay Act. GAWU lashed out at NISIL yesterday over the surprise dismissal of the workers. Most of the workers were employed by NISIL at its operations at the Wills Estate as security guards and laborers. GAWU described the firings as barefaced, since they were done as the workers were making moves to be represented by the union. In a separate statement last evening, NISIL indicated that most of the workers will get employment with a security company now hired to overlook security at the estate, while the others will be hired on a needs basis. Regional carrier Caribbean Airlines has announced that it has suspended its service to Havana, Cuba with immediate effect until further notice. The move comes on the heels of the Cuban Aviation Authority instituting strict measures and protocols to fight the import of COVID-19 cases. Cuba has cut back on several international flights as more and more countries complain of a faster spreading new strain of the deadly virus. In a statement today, Caribbean Airlines said persons with bookings to Cuba are asked to contact the airline's reservation sales and service center as soon as possible. In the courts, West Coast Demerara businessman Ryan Joseph appeared in court today and was charged for possession of narcotics for the purpose of trafficking. The 47-year-old man appeared before Magistrate Crystal Lambert at the Breeden Hoop Magistrates Court. He pleaded not guilty to the offense. He was remanded to jail and will have to make his next court appearance on the 25th of January. The charge stemmed from the discovery of more than 9 pounds of marijuana at the man's Crane home. The marijuana was found stashed in the bottom of a barrel, and several marijuana plants were also found in his backyard. The man and his wife were initially arrested, but a decision was taken to file charges against the businessman only. Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc.
Due to the impacts of the global pandemic, COVID-19 across our nation, essential organizations like us have chosen to adopt innovative approaches to meet the emerging needs of our customers while protecting our employees. Here are some quick tips to make managing your GPL bill easier while we practice social distancing. To register for electronic billing, you can use the e-billing tab on your website. To access your bill balance, you can use 4 options: the website live chat at gpl.net, the online inquiry on our website under billing, SMS Freedom by texting your GPL reference number to 624-0400 or 608-8400, or call our call center at 226-2600. A message from the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Been through it all.
But as a people we have
Weathered every storm.
And risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
that gives it its strength.
all the people,
regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Across the region right now, we begin in Jamaica, where the Chinese embassy there has rejected remarks made by the outgoing U.S. ambassador to Jamaica, Donald Tapia, who accused China of eavesdropping on his telephone conversations via a Jamaican domestic network. In denouncing the diplomat's comments, the Chinese embassy in Jamaica said the U.S. official has been trying his best to muddy the relationship between China and Jamaica. An official of the Chinese embassy said attempting to frame others with empty rhetoric can only undercut one's own credibility, as they will end up being a laughingstock. The U.S. ambassador has alleged that China was using telecommunications company Digicel, which supposedly used Huawei technology platforms, to listen in on his personal calls. Digicel has said no Chinese equipment has been deployed in its core voice and data networks, adding that none of the company's vendors have access to customer data. In St. Vincent, the opposition leader there, Godwin Friday, is urging Vincentians to continue to take steps to curb the spread of coronavirus, and he has cautioned against fatigue, complacency, and self-congratulation in the face of the pandemic. The opposition leader was speaking as the reopening of schools was postponed for 1 week amidst a local cluster of COVID-19 cases in St. Vincent. St. Vincent and Grenadines has moved from 100 COVID-19 cases on December the 17th to 133 as of Monday. Of those cases, 115 were imported and 6 were import-related. There are 33 active COVID-19 cases in the country, and no deaths have been recorded as a result of the viral illness in St. Vincent. And finally, tonight, international news. India will begin exporting the locally made coronavirus vaccines within a fortnight of its launch, a foreign ministry official has told foreign media. The official dismissed reports that India would ban exports of its vaccine, which it is producing to meet local demand. India makes about 60% of vaccines globally, and many countries are eagerly waiting for it to begin shipping doses. It has formally approved the emergency use of 2 vaccines as it prepares to begin giving the vaccines in January. India plans one of the world's biggest inoculation, seeking to immunize about 300 million people by July. The country's drugs regulator has given the green light to 2 vaccines, one developed by AstraZeneca with Oxford University and one by its local firm Bharat Biotech called Covaxin. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.